The rain came down in sheets that Tuesday evening, turning the parking lot of Mercy's diner into a shallow lake that reflected the neon sign's pink glow. Maya Chan stood behind the counter, her apron stained with coffee and ketchup from the dinner rush, watching the water cascade down the front windows like a waterfall. The diner smelled of burnt coffee, frying bacon, and the lemon disinfectant she'd used to wipe down the booths an hour earlier. Her feet ached in her worn sneakers, the same pair she'd been wearing for 8 months because new ones weren't in the budget yet. "Table 7 needs a refill," called out Reggie from the kitchen, his voice carrying over the sizzle of the grill. Reggie had worked at Mercy's for 15 years, long enough to know every regular by name and coffee preference. He was a broad-shouldered man with graying temples and hands that never stopped moving, always chopping, flipping, stirring. Maya had learned more about cooking from watching him through the service window than she ever had from any cookbook. Maya grabbed the coffee pot and made her way to table 7, where Mrs. Henderson sat with her usual Tuesday night crossword puzzle. The elderly woman came in every week at the same time, ordered the same meal, meatloaf with mashed potatoes, and left the same $3 tip, counting out the bills with shaking hands that spoke of arthritis and age. "Thank you, sweetheart," Mrs. Henderson said, her voice soft and warm. She wore a cardigan despite the summer heat, and her glasses sat crooked on her nose. "You're always so attentive. Your mother raised you right." Maya smiled, though the mention of her mother sent a familiar pang through her chest. "Thank you, Mrs. Henderson. Can I get you anything else? Just check when you have a moment." "No rush, dear." The bell above the door chimed, and Maya turned to see a man entering, shaking rain from his expensive-looking coat. He was perhaps in his 60s, with silver hair slicked back and shoes that gleamed even in the diner's fluorescent lighting. Everything about him seemed out of place in Mercy's, from his tailored suit to the leather briefcase he carried. Most of their customers were factory workers, nurses finishing late shifts, or truck drivers stopping for fuel and food. The man chose a booth near the window, the one Maya had just cleaned. She grabbed a menu and a glass of water, approaching with the practiced smile she'd perfected over 3 years of waitressing. "Good evening," she said, setting down the water. "Quite a storm out there." He looked up and Maya noticed his eyes, a sharp, intelligent gray that seemed to assess everything at once. "Indeed it is. I'm afraid I may have made a miscalculation about the weather." He spoke with a slight accent she couldn't quite place, each word precisely chosen. "I was hoping to reach the city before this started. The forecast said it would last another few hours," Maya offered, pulling out her order pad. "Can I start you off with something to drink? Coffee? Please. Black. No sugar." He opened the menu but didn't really look at it. "What do you recommend?" Maya thought for a moment. Most customers asked this question without really wanting an answer, but something in his tone suggested genuine interest. "The chicken pot pie is Reggie's specialty. He makes the crust from scratch. Or if you want something lighter, the club sandwich is always good. We bake our own bread." "The pot pie sounds excellent." He closed the menu and handed it back to her. "Thank you for the honest recommendation." As Maya walked back to the kitchen to place the order, she felt the weight of the evening settling into her shoulders. It was almost 9 o'clock, which meant she'd been on her feet for 11 hours. After this shift, she'd drive home to her one-bedroom apartment, where her textbooks waited on the kitchen table. She was taking online classes, business administration, 2 courses at a time, as many as she could afford while working full-time. At this rate, her bachelor's degree would take 6 more years. 6 years of late nights, sore feet, and falling asleep over accounting principles. "Order up for 7, Reggie called, sliding Mrs. Henderson's meatloaf through the window. "And Maya, you doing okay? You look tired." "I'm fine," she said automatically, because what else could she say? That she was exhausted? That sometimes she wondered if she was crazy for thinking she could build a better life one coffee refill at a time? That her car had started making a grinding noise she couldn't afford to fix, and she was terrified it would die completely, leaving her stranded with no way to get to work? She delivered Mrs. Henderson's meal and returned to the counter, where she began rolling silverware and napkins, a task that kept her hands busy and her mind from wandering too far into worry. Through the window, She could see the parking lot flooding, the rain showing no signs of stopping. The stranger's pot pie came up quickly, steam rising from the golden crust. Maya delivered it with fresh coffee, noticing how he nodded appreciatively at the presentation. "It smells wonderful," he said. "Please give my compliments to the chef." "I will," Maya promised, meaning it. Reggie rarely got compliments directly. Most people didn't think about the person behind the food. The evening continued its slow rhythm. A couple came in, shaking off the rain and laughing about something. Two truck drivers claimed stools at the counter, ordering burgers and swapping stories about the highway. Maya moved between tables, refilling drinks, clearing plates, always aware of the clock ticking toward closing time. She was wiping down table 3 when she heard the stranger's voice. Though he was speaking on his phone, his tone had changed, sharp with frustration. "What do you mean the car won't start?" "No, I understand it's the weather, but I need to get to the city tonight. The meeting is at 7 tomorrow morning. I can't afford to miss it." Maya didn't mean to eavesdrop, but the diner was small, and voices carried. She could see the tension in his shoulders, the way his free hand rubbed at his temple. When he ended the call, he sat in silence for a moment, staring at the rain. She approached cautiously. "Is everything all right?" He looked up, and she saw genuine worry in his expression. "My car won't start. The mechanic says it's the alternator, likely damaged by water. And with this storm, no tow trucks are available until morning at the earliest." He paused. "I apologize for the frustration. It's not your concern. Do you need to call someone? A hotel, maybe?" Maya asked, though she knew the nearest hotel was 15 miles away. And in this weather, getting there would be challenging. "I've been trying to arrange transportation to the city. I have a crucial meeting tomorrow that I cannot miss. But it seems every car service is either booked or unwilling to drive in these conditions." He smiled, but it was tiring. "I may have to accept defeat and hope in the morning." Maya hesitated. She knew she shouldn't get involved. She barely knew this man. But she also knew what it felt like to have everything riding on one opportunity, one moment that could change everything. "How far is the city?" "About 40 miles. But truly, I don't expect. There's a taxi company that operates out of here. The driver's name is Joe Martinez. He's driven in worse weather than this." Maya pulled out her phone, scrolling through her contacts. "Let me call him for you." The stranger's eyebrows rose. "That's very kind, but you don't have to." "It's no trouble," Maya said, and she meant it. She dialed Joe's number, listening to it ring, while the stranger watched with an expression she couldn't quite read. Joe answered on the third ring, his voice gravelly from years of smoking cigarettes he'd quit 5 years ago. "Maya, is everything okay?" "Hey Joe, I have a customer here who needs a ride to the city. Any chance you're willing to brave the storm?" A pause. "The city? That's a long haul in this weather, sweetheart. I'd have to charge highway rates plus weather surcharge. We're talking maybe $200, probably more." Maya looked at the stranger, who was already reaching for his wallet. But then she noticed something, the way his hand hesitated, the brief flicker of something in his eyes. And suddenly, with an intuition she couldn't explain, Maya understood. The expensive suit, the briefcase, the crucial meeting, but the concern over the price of a taxi. Before she could think too hard about what she was doing, Maya said, "Don't worry about the cost. I'll cover it." The stranger's head snapped up. "Absolutely not. I couldn't possibly." But Maya was already giving Joe the diner's address, confirming the pickup time. Her heart pounding because she just committed to spending money she didn't really have. $200 was almost a week's worth of tips. It was her car repair fund, her textbook money for next semester, her emergency cushion that was already threadbare. "He'll be here in 20 minutes, Maya said, ending the call. Her hands were shaking slightly, so she clasped them together. The stranger stood, and he was taller than she'd realized. "Miss, I don't even know your name." "Maya. Maya Chen. Maya." He said it like he was committing it to memory. "I'm Robert Westfield, and I cannot accept this. Please allow me to pay you back right now." He pulled out his wallet, but when he opened it, Maya saw only a few bills, maybe $40 total. My cards aren't working, he admitted, frustration creeping back into his voice. Some kind of security flag because I'm traveling. I've been trying to reach my bank all day, but... He trailed off, looking more vulnerable than his expensive clothes suggested. This is incredibly embarrassing. It's okay, Maya said, surprising herself with how calm she sounded. Really, get to your meeting. That's what matters. I will pay you back, Robert said, and there was steel in his voice now, a firmness that suggested he was a man used to keeping his word. I give you my absolute promise. Please, write down your information, your full name, the diner's address, a phone number where I can reach you. Maya grabbed a napkin and wrote down the details, her handwriting slightly shaky. As she handed it to him, their fingers briefly touched, and she saw something in his eyes. Gratitude, yes, but also something deeper. Recognition, maybe, or respect. Why did you do this? He asked softly. You don't know me. For all you know, I could be lying about everything. Maya considered the question. Why had she done it? She thought about her mother, who had died 3 years ago from cancer they couldn't afford to treat properly. Her mother, who had always said that kindness was the only currency that never lost its value, who had given her last $20 to a homeless veteran the week before she passed, even though they'd needed it for groceries. Because someone helped me once when I needed it, Maya said, and because I hope if I'm ever stuck in a storm, someone would do the same. Joe's taxi pulled up outside, headlights cutting through the rain. Robert gathered his briefcase, pulled on his coat, and turned to Maya one last time. Thank you, Maya-chan. Truly, I won't forget this. She watched him run through the rain to the taxi, watched the red taillights disappear into the storm. If you're already hooked by Maya's act of kindness, give this story a like and subscribe, because what happens next will restore your faith in humanity. Trust me, you won't want to miss how this unfolds. Then she looked at her phone, at the banking app that showed her checking account balance. The taxi fare would bring her down to less than $300 total. Her rent was due in 2 weeks. The grinding noise in her car was getting worse. She had $27 in her tip jar from tonight. You okay, sweetie? Mrs. Henderson was standing by the register, ready to pay her check. She'd watched the whole exchange. I'm fine, Maya said, and this time she almost believed it. That was a beautiful thing you did, Mrs. Henderson said, pressing a $10 bill into Maya's hand. You're a special soul, young lady. After closing, Maya helped Reggie clean the kitchen. You're quiet, he observed. Maya told him everything. When she finished, he said, Your mama would be proud. And that was enough to make Maya's eyes burn with tears she didn't let fall. She drove home through streets that had become rivers. When she finally pulled into her apartment complex, it was nearly midnight. Inside her small apartment, Maya made herself tea and sat at the kitchen table. She kept thinking about Robert Westfield, wondering if he'd made it safely, if he'd really remember to pay her back. Probably not, a cynical voice whispered. You'll never see that money again. But another voice, her mother's voice, said, It doesn't matter. You did the right thing. That's all that matters. Maya pulled out the napkin she'd given Robert, the one with her information. She'd kept a duplicate in her apron pocket, written in his precise handwriting. Robert Westfield. The name sounded important somehow, though she didn't know why. She Googled him, curiosity getting the better of her. The results made her breath catch. Robert Westfield was the founder and CEO of Westfield Innovations, a technology company worth billions. He was known for his philanthropy, his business acumen, and his reclusive nature, rarely giving interviews, avoiding publicity. There were articles about his company's latest developments in renewable energy, about his donations to educational programs, about his rise from poverty to become one of the most successful entrepreneurs of his generation. Maya stared at the screen, her tea growing cold. She'd just helped a billionaire pay for a taxi. The irony was almost funny. Almost. But as she read more, she learned other things too. Robert Westfield's wife had died 5 years ago from cancer. He had no children. He'd started his company with a $5,000 loan from a stranger who'd believed in his idea when no one else would. He'd spent the first 20 years of his career paying forward that kindness, helping other entrepreneurs get their start. Maybe Maya thought he really would remember. Maybe this wasn't just another story of kindness wasted on someone who didn't need it. She closed the laptop and picked up her phone, looking at her bank balance one more time. It was still frighteningly low, but she felt something unfamiliar stirring in her chest. Not regret, but a strange sort of peace. She'd made a choice based on who she wanted to be, not on what she could afford to lose. That night, Maya dreamed of her mother. They were in the old kitchen of her childhood home, the one they'd lost to medical bills. Her mother was cooking soup, the way she used to on Sundays, and the whole house smelled of ginger and garlic. "You did good, baby," her mother said, stirring the pot. "You remembered what I taught you. Kindness isn't about what you have. It's about who you are." Maya woke at 6 a.m. to her alarm, the dream still vivid in her mind. She had an opening shift at the diner, which meant she needed to be there by 7 to start the coffee and set up for breakfast. She showered, dressed in her spare uniform. She owned two, washing one while wearing the other, and checked her phone. No messages. No calls. Nothing from Robert Westfield. What did you expect? She chided herself. A thank you text? He's probably already forgotten. But as she drove to work, watching the sunrise paint the sky in shades of orange and pink, Maya couldn't shake the feeling that something had shifted. Not in her circumstances, those remained stubbornly difficult, but in herself. She'd proven something last night, if only to her own reflection, that she could still be generous when she had nothing to spare. That her mother's lessons had taken root deeper than she'd known. The diner was quiet when she arrived, Reggie already in the kitchen preparing for the morning rush. "Coffee's fresh," he called out, "and I made you some breakfast. Eat before the chaos starts." Maya accepted the plate of scrambled eggs and toast gratefully, realizing she'd skipped dinner last night. As she ate, she counted her tips from the previous evening, adding them to the slim stack of bills in her wallet. Every dollar mattered. Every penny counted toward rent, toward her car, toward the future she was building one shift at a time. The bell above the door chimed at 7:30, and the regulars started filtering in. Mr. Patterson, who ordered the same breakfast every day and read the newspaper in booth 5. The construction crew from the site down the road, loud and hungry, always leaving good tips. Sarah, the night nurse finishing her shift, who drank 4 cups of coffee and barely touched her food because she was too tired to eat. Maya moved through her routine, pouring coffee, taking orders, delivering plates, and clearing tables. Her feet found the familiar rhythm, her hands knew the motions by heart. But her mind kept wandering back to the man in the expensive suit, to the taxi disappearing into the rain, to the $200 she'd probably never see again. The morning rush ended around 10, leaving Maya with a brief window to catch her breath. She refilled the napkin dispensers and wiped down the counter, her reflection catching in the chrome of the coffee machine. 26 years old, with dark circles under her eyes that the concealer couldn't quite hide. Her black hair was pulled back in a practical ponytail, a few strands escaping to frame her face. She'd inherited her mother's high cheekbones and her father's eyes, the father she'd never known, who'd left before she was born. "Take your break," Reggie said, appearing with a fresh pot of coffee. "You've been going hard since you got here." Maya nodded gratefully and stepped into the small break room behind the kitchen. It was barely more than a closet with a table and 2 chairs, but it was quiet, and right now quiet was precious. She pulled out her phone and opened her banking app, a habit she'd developed over the past year, checking her balance multiple times a day, as if watching it closely enough might make the numbers grow. $287.43. Rent was $650, due in 12 days. Her car insurance was $120, due in a week. She needed groceries. She needed gas. She needed to figure out what was wrong with her car before it died completely and left her stranded. Maya closed her eyes and did the math she'd done 100 times before. If she worked every shift available this week and next, if her tips stayed consistent, if nothing unexpected happened, a big if, she might make it. Barely. With maybe $20 to spare. She pulled out her laptop and opened her online classes. Her business accounting assignment was due tomorrow, something about cash flow analysis that felt cruelly ironic given her current situation. She'd written half of it during her last break shift, typing between customers, but the rest still waited. The break room door opened, and Janine stuck her head in. Janine was the other full-time waitress at Mercy's, a woman in her 40s with 3 kids and a husband who'd left her 2 years ago. She had bleached blonde hair, laugh lines around her eyes, and a tendency to wear too much perfume. But she was kind in the way of people who'd survived hard things. "Hey, sweetie, there's a 2-top at table 6 asking for you specifically," Janine said. "Said they'd heard you give the best recommendations." Maya saved her work and followed Janine back to the floor. Table 6 held a young couple, maybe in their early 30s, dressed in business casual. The woman smiled warmly when Maya approached. "Hi, we're actually in town for a conference, and the hotel concierge recommended this place. Said to ask for Maya specifically." The woman glanced at the menu. "What's good for lunch?" Maya felt a small glow of pride. The hotel concierge was Danny, a regular who came in most mornings for coffee and pie. She'd helped him study for his real estate licensing exam last year, quizzing him from flashcards during slow periods. "The chicken salad is really fresh today, and the tomato soup is homemade. If you want something heartier, the Reuben is excellent." After taking their order, Maya returned to her routine, but the interaction stayed with her. This was what she loved about the work, even on the hardest days. The connections, the regulars who became familiar, the small ways she could make someone's day better. It was why she'd stayed at Mercy's even when she could probably make more money at one of the chain restaurants on the highway. The lunch shift was steady, keeping her moving constantly. By 2 o'clock, her feet were protesting and her back ached. But the tip jar was looking healthier. She'd made about $40 so far, which was decent for a Wednesday. During a lull, she checked her phone again. Still no word from Robert Westfield. Not that she expected any, but a small part of her, the part that still believed in fairy tales despite everything life had taught her, had hoped. "You keep checking that phone like you're waiting for something," Reggie observed, sliding a burger through the window. "Everything okay?" Maya hesitated. She hadn't told anyone except Reggie about helping the stranger last night, and now she felt foolish for even thinking about it. Just wondering if that guy from last night made it to his meeting. Reggie studied her with the perception that came from years of watching people. "You Googled him, didn't you?" "Maybe. And he's rich. Really rich. Which makes me feel even more stupid for paying for his taxi when he could probably buy this whole diner without checking his bank balance." "Or," Reggie said slowly, "it means he understands the value of what you did better than most people would. Real wealth isn't about how much money you have, Maya. It's about understanding what things cost." Before Maya could respond, her phone buzzed. She glanced at it expecting spam, but instead saw an unknown number with a text message. "Miss Chen, this is Robert Westfield. I wanted to let you know I made it to my meeting safely, thanks to your generosity. I haven't forgotten my promise to repay you. Would you be available to speak by phone this evening? I have a proposition I'd like to discuss." Maya's hands trembled as she read the message twice, then a third time. A proposition? What did that mean? She showed the text to Reggie, who raised his eyebrows. "Well, that's interesting. You going to call him?" "I don't know," Maya admitted. "What if it's weird? What if he wants something I can't give? What if it's good?" Reggie countered. "What if this is one of those moments your mama used to talk about? The ones where kindness comes back around?" Maya's mother had believed in karma, in the universe balancing itself out. She told stories about small acts of generosity that had rippled outward in unexpected ways. But she'd also died young, drowning in medical debt, her kindness unrewarded by any cosmic justice Maya could see. Still, she texted back, "I finish my shift at 8 p.m. I could talk after that." The response came quickly, "Perfect. I'll call you at 8:30. And Maya, thank you again for what you did. It meant more than you know." The rest of the shift passed in a blur of distraction. Maya messed up 2 orders, something she rarely did, and spilled coffee on her apron. Her mind kept spiraling through possibilities. Maybe he wanted to pay her back in person. Maybe he was going to offer her a job, but doing what? She had no skills beyond waiting tables and the half-finished business degree she was slowly earning. Maybe, the cynical voice whispered, he's going to yell at you for assuming he needed help, for embarrassing him. By the time 8 o'clock arrived, Maya's nerves were frayed. She clocked out, said goodbye to Janine, who was taking the evening shift, and sat in her car in the parking lot. The grinding noise when she started the engine sounded worse, more urgent. She'd have to deal with it soon, whether she could afford to or not. At 8:32 p.m., her phone rang. Hello, Maya, it's Robert Westfield. Thank you for taking the time to speak with me. His voice was warm, professional, but with an undercurrent of something she couldn't identify. First, I want to apologize for the circumstances of our meeting. Having you pay for my transportation was never my intention, and I'm embarrassed it came to that. It's okay, Maya said. I'm just glad you made your meeting. I did thanks to you, and it went better than I could have hoped. He paused. Which brings me to why I wanted to call. I've been thinking about what you did and why you did it. You didn't know who I was. You didn't expect anything in return. You just helped because you could. My mom taught me to help when I can, Maya said simply. Your mother sounds like she was a remarkable woman. She was. Maya's throat tightened. Maya, I want to do more than just pay you back the taxi fare. I'd like to offer you something more substantial. But first, what are you studying? Maya blinked. How did you know I'm in school? You had textbooks in your car. What are you studying? Business administration. I want to open my own restaurant someday. That's a beautiful dream, Robert said. Tell me, if money wasn't an obstacle, what would you do? She thought about it. I'd finish my degree. I'd fix my car. I'd help Reggie open his own place. I'd set up a scholarship in my mom's name. Achievable dreams with the right support, Robert said quietly. Maya, I want to give you something as thanks for what you did. Maya's stomach clenched. I don't want charity, Mr. Westfield. It's not charity. It's gratitude. There's a difference. He took a breath. The meeting I had yesterday, the one I couldn't afford to miss. It was with investors for a project I've been working on for 5 years. A renewable energy initiative that could change how rural communities access power. The deal was worth $400 million, and it all hinged on that one presentation. Maya couldn't comprehend numbers that large. That's a lot of money. It is, and I almost missed it because of a dead car battery and a rainstorm. But a young woman who probably couldn't afford to help me did it anyway, expecting nothing in return. That kind of character is rare, Maya. Extraordinarily rare. And it reminded me why I do what I do, why I started my company in the first place. I still don't understand what this has to do with me, Maya said. I want to give you a car. The words hung in the air between them. Maya was sure she'd misheard. I'm sorry, what? A car. A new one. A Tesla Model Y to be specific. It's practical, reliable, and it would solve your transportation issues while also being environmentally responsible. Maya's mind went blank. Then it was filled with noise, disbelief, confusion, suspicion. That's insane. I can't accept a car from you. That's worth more than I make in a year. 2 years. Maybe 3 years. I know what it's worth. I also know what your kindness was worth to me. And honestly, Maya, this isn't just about gratitude. It's about principle. When I was starting out, someone helped me when I had nothing. A man I'd never met gave me $5,000 based on nothing but a handshake and a business plan scribbled on a napkin. He told me to pay it forward when I could. I've been doing that my whole career, but yesterday reminded me that the best recipients of generosity aren't the ones who ask for it or expect it. They're the ones who give even when they can't afford to. Maya's eyes were burning. I can't. This is too much. I just paid for a taxi. It was $200. I'll accept that back. Gratefully, but a car? That's not proportional. Proportional to what? Robert's voice was gentle but firm. To the money or to the meaning? You spent money you needed on someone you didn't know. That taxi fare represents a real sacrifice for you? I know that because I looked up the average salary for waitstaff in your area. For you, that $200 was significant. For me, a car is proportionally insignificant. But the gesture would be equivalent. Giving something that matters to honor something that mattered. Maya was crying now, silent tears rolling down her cheeks as she sat in her grinding, dying car in the diner parking lot. Why me? You could help anyone. People who need it more, who have families, who... Because you helped me, Robert said simply. And because I think you'll do something good with this chance. I've built my career on reading people, Maya. I'm good at it. And I see something in you. Determination, integrity, kindness that hasn't been beaten out of you by hardship. Those qualities are worth investing in. I don't know what to say. Say yes. Let me do this. Let me give you a gift that might make your life a little easier, your dreams a little closer. And someday, when you open that restaurant you want, pay it forward. Help someone else the way you helped me. Maya wiped her eyes, her hands shaking. This didn't happen in real life. This was the stuff of movies, of stories, of fantasies she'd stopped believing in when her mother died and the real world proved itself harsh and unmerciful. But Robert Westfield was real. His offer was real. And for the first time in 3 years, Maya felt something unfurling in her chest that felt dangerously close to hope. Okay, she whispered. Yes, I don't understand it, but... Yes, thank you. Okay, she whispered. Yes, I don't understand it, but... Yes, thank you. Thank you, Maya, for reminding me what this is all for. She could hear the smile in his voice. This story gets even more incredible, but before we continue, hit that like button if you believe kindness should be rewarded, and share this with someone who needs to hear it today. The best part is still coming. I'll have the car delivered to the diner within a few days. I'll need some information from you. I'll text you a secure form to fill out. And Maya, I meant what I said. This isn't charity. It's an investment in someone I believe in. After the call ended, Maya sat in her car for 20 minutes, staring at nothing, trying to process what had just happened. A Tesla. He was giving her a Tesla, because she'd paid for a taxi. Her phone buzzed again. This time it was Reggie, still in the parking lot. Is everything okay? She called him instead of texting. When he answered, she started laughing and crying at the same time, the words tumbling out in a rush. Reggie listened to everything, and when she finished, he was quiet for a long moment. Your mama's watching, he finally said, his voice thick with emotion. I swear to God, Maya, she's watching and she's so damn proud. That night, Maya lay in bed unable to sleep, her mind racing. She kept checking her phone, half convinced she'd imagined the whole conversation. But the text was there, the secure form to fill out, Robert Westfield's number in her recent calls. She thought about her mother, about the way she'd always believed in signs, in the universe providing. Trust the goodness, she used to say. Trust that love and kindness aren't wasted, even when you can't see the return. Maya had stopped believing that when her mother died, when all her kindness and goodness hadn't saved her, hadn't even bought her a comfortable death. But now, lying in the dark of her small apartment, Maya wondered if maybe her mother had been right. Not that the universe was fair, it clearly wasn't, but that goodness mattered anyway. That choosing to help, to care, to give, created ripples you couldn't always track but that moved through the world nonetheless. She filled out the form Robert had sent, driver's license information, insurance details, her address. It felt surreal, like she was playing a role in someone else's life. The next 3 days passed in a strange, suspended reality. Maya continued her shifts at Mercy's, moving through the familiar routines while feeling like she was waiting for a dream to either materialize or evaporate. She told no one except Reggie and Janine, swearing them both to secrecy because the whole thing felt too fragile to speak aloud. What if it's a scam? She asked Reggie during her Thursday break. What if this is some elaborate setup? For what? You don't have anything to steal, Reggie pointed out practically. And I looked him up again. Robert Westfield is legitimate. Forbes, Wall Street Journal, the whole thing. If he says he's sending you a car, he's sending you a car. On Friday afternoon, during the lunch rush, Maya's phone rang with an unknown number. Her heart hammered as she stepped outside to answer. "Miss Chen, this is David Park from Tesla Direct. I'm calling to schedule delivery of your Model Y. Would tomorrow at 2 p.m. work for you?" Maya's knees went weak. "Tomorrow? Yes. Yes, that works. Perfect. We'll deliver it to Mercy's Diner, as Mr. Westfield requested. I'll need you to have your driver's license and insurance information ready. Mr. Westfield has already handled the registration and first year of insurance." After the call, Maya stood in the parking lot, staring at her dying Honda. The grinding noise had progressed to occasional shuddering. She'd been driving it with a prayer and crossed fingers, knowing each trip might be its last. "One more day," she whispered. "Just one more day." Saturday arrived with crystalline clarity, the kind of autumn day that made everything seem possible. Maya's shift started at 10, and by 1 o'clock she was vibrating with nervous energy. Janine had spread the word among the regulars, and the diner buzzed with excitement. "Our girl's getting a Tesla," Mrs. Henderson announced to anyone who would listen, "because she's got the kindest heart in this whole town." At 1:55 p.m., a delivery truck pulled into the parking lot, and behind it, gleaming silver under the afternoon sun, was the Tesla Model Y. Maya walked out slowly, her apron still on, surrounded by Reggie, Janine, and a collection of customers who'd stayed to witness the moment. The delivery driver was professional and efficient, walking Maya through the features, the charging, the technology. She signed papers with shaking hands, barely comprehending the words. When he handed her the key card, she just stared at it. "It's really yours," Reggie said softly beside her. Maya approached the car like it might disappear. The interior was pristine, cream leather seats, a massive touchscreen, that new car smell she'd only experienced in dealerships. She sat in the driver's seat, her work shoes on the immaculate floor mats, and started crying. Through the windshield, she saw everyone watching. Reggie with his arms crossed and a huge grin, Janine wiping her eyes, Mrs. Henderson clapping her hands, the construction crew giving thumbs up. These people, this place, had become her family after her mother died. They'd celebrated her small victories and supported her through struggles. And now they were here for this impossible moment. Her phone buzzed. "Robert Westfield, I hope the car meets your expectations. Drive safely, Maya. And remember, pay it forward when you can." She texted back with trembling fingers. "Thank you doesn't feel like enough. You've changed my life." His response was immediate. "You changed mine first. That's how this works." The Tesla changed everything and nothing simultaneously. Maya still worked at Mercy's, still took her online classes, still worried about money. But the grinding anxiety about her car vanished. The money she'd been saving for repairs could now go toward rent, groceries, textbooks. She could breathe slightly easier. Word spread through town quickly. The local newspaper wanted to do a story. "Local waitress receives Tesla from grateful businessman." Maya initially refused, uncomfortable with attention, but Robert encouraged her when she called to ask his opinion. "Let them tell the story," he said. "Not for you or for me, but because people need to hear that kindness matters, that it's seen and valued." The article ran the following Wednesday, and suddenly Maya's quiet act of generosity became a sensation. The story was picked up by regional news, then national outlets. Her phone exploded with messages from friends she hadn't spoken to in years, from strangers inspired by the story, from people wanting to interview her. A local TV station came to the diner, filming Maya at work, interviewing Reggie and regular customers. Mrs. Henderson told anyone who would listen about Maya's character. "She's helped every person in this town at some point," the elderly woman said firmly. "She deserves every good thing." Maya found the attention overwhelming but also deeply moving. People she'd served coffee to for years told stories she'd forgotten. The time she'd covered a family's bill when their credit card was declined. The regular she'd driven home when his car broke down. The single mother she'd babysat for free during emergency shifts. "You've been doing this all along," Janine said during a rare quiet moment. "Helping people. Robert Westfield just happened to be someone who could help back in a big way." But with visibility came complications. A few people suggested Maya didn't deserve such generosity for just paying for a taxi. Online comments debated whether Robert's gift was appropriate, whether it created unhealthy expectations, whether Maya had somehow manipulated the situation. The negativity stung, but it was drowned out by the positive responses. People from across the country sent small donations to the diner with notes, for Maya's dream restaurant fund, to help her finish school, because kindness should be rewarded. Within 2 weeks, strangers had sent nearly $8,000. Maya was overwhelmed, humbled, and slightly terrified by the responsibility of so much goodwill. 3 months after receiving the Tesla, Maya's life had transformed in ways she was still processing. The donated money, combined with her continued work and tips, allowed her to enroll in 4 classes instead of 2. She was on track to finish her degree in 2 years instead of 6. Robert Westfield stayed in touch, occasional texts checking on her progress, asking about her restaurant dreams. He never asked for anything in return, never leveraged his generosity. Their relationship evolved into an unexpected mentorship. He offered business advice, connected her with restaurant owners who shared their experiences, and sent her books on entrepreneurship and leadership. "Why are you doing all this?" Maya asked during one of their phone calls. "Because I see myself in you," Robert said simply. "The younger version of me before I had resources. And because helping you helps me remember why I started this journey. It keeps me grounded." Maya started a small initiative at the diner, a pay-it-forward board where customers could prepay for meals that would go to anyone who needed them. Within weeks, the board was always full, the community embracing the spirit of generosity. Reggie created a special menu of hearty, nutritious meals specifically for the program. She also began volunteering at a local community center, teaching basic financial literacy to other young people struggling to make ends meet. Everything she'd learned from years of stretching every dollar, she now shared freely. 6 months after the Tesla arrived, Maya received another call from Robert. "I have a proposition," he said. "My company is opening a new headquarters cafeteria, and I'd like it to feel like a real restaurant, the kind of place you described wanting to create. Would you be interested in consulting on the project? It would pay well and give you hands-on experience in restaurant design and management." Maya accepted, and suddenly her dream felt tangible. She worked with architects and designers, choosing menus and creating a welcoming atmosphere. The project taught her more than any textbook could. 1 year later, Maya graduated with her bachelor's degree on a sunny May afternoon. Reggie, Janine, and Mrs. Henderson sat in the audience, cheering louder than anyone when she walked across the stage. Robert Westfield sent a massive flower arrangement with a note. "Your mother would be so proud. I'm honored to have played a small part in your journey." She continued working at Mercy's while planning her next steps, but now it felt like a choice rather than a trap. 2 years later, Maya opened Grace's Table, named for her mother, in a renovated building downtown. It was exactly what she'd dreamed. Warm lighting, comfortable booths, a menu of honest, delicious food at prices everyone could afford. She hired Reggie as head chef, finally giving him the platform his talent deserved. A portion of every meal sold went to the Pay It Forward program, now expanded to provide groceries for struggling families. Robert Westfield attended the opening night, sitting quietly in a corner booth, watching Maya greet customers with the same genuine warmth she'd shown that rainy night at Mercy's. 3 years later, Grace's Table had become a community institution. Maya had hired 3 other young people from difficult circumstances, mentoring them the way Robert had mentored her. She'd established a scholarship fund in her mother's name, helping students pursue culinary and business degrees. She still drove the Tesla, now with higher mileage but still running perfectly. Sometimes she'd park it and remember that rainy night, the stranger with the dead car battery, the $200 she'd spent without hesitation. The investment that had returned more than she could have imagined, not just in money or opportunities, but in restored faith that goodness mattered, that kindness was never wasted. 5 years later, Maya stood in the kitchen of Grace's Table, watching the evening rush with satisfaction. She'd just signed the lease on a second location. Robert had called that morning to congratulate her, mentioning he'd recently helped another young entrepreneur, a single father who'd stopped to help him with a flat tire. "The chain continues," Robert had said warmly. "You inspired me to keep looking for those moments, Maya, to keep paying attention." Through the service window, Maya saw a young woman at table 7, obviously stressed, counting change to see if she could afford dinner. Maya caught her server's eye and shook her head slightly. The meal would be on the house, added to the Pay It Forward program. The young woman would never know that the restaurant owner watching her had once been in exactly her position, that a random act of kindness on a rainy night had changed everything, that generosity had a way of multiplying when given freely. Maya pulled out her phone and texted Robert. "Just helped someone who reminded me of myself 5 years ago. Thank you for teaching me that we can be the miracle someone needs." His response: "You already knew that. I just helped you remember. Your mother taught you well." That night, after closing, Maya sat in her Tesla in the empty parking lot, looking at the restaurant she'd built. The neon sign, Grace's Table, glowed warm and welcoming. Inside, the Pay It Forward board was full of prepaid meals. Her staff had homes, steady income, hope for their futures. All because she'd chosen kindness when it was inconvenient, when she couldn't afford it, when there was no guarantee of return. Her mother had been right all along. Kindness was the only currency that never lost value. It compounded, multiplied, created ripples that touched lives in ways you could never predict. Maya started the Tesla, the quiet electric engine humming to life, and drove home through streets she'd once navigated with grinding anxiety. Now they felt different, full of possibility, of connection, of the certain knowledge that small acts of goodness could change everything. The story that had started with $200 and a rainy night had become something larger than she'd ever imagined. And it wasn't finished yet. It would continue through every person she helped, every meal shared, every moment of grace extended when grace was needed most. That was the real gift Robert Westfield had given her. Not the Tesla, but the reminder that her mother's lessons were worth living by, that choosing generosity over self-protection was always, always worth it. If Maya's journey inspired you, please like this story and subscribe for more real-life tales of kindness that change lives. Share this with someone who could use a reminder that good things still happen to good people. What act of kindness will you do today?